today on Berry Talks, we are joined by a guest whose experience bridges the world of genetics, strategy, and global market development in fruit. Marco Bertolazzi is the R&D director at Lucar, a premium fruit and vegetable company operating in over 36 countries, with a background in biotechnology from the University of Bologna in Italy, and the deep experience in variety licensing, breeding strategies, and international commercialization. Marco has really helped to shape the trajectory of high impact crops like strawberries, apples, and now premium berries under San Lucar's brand. Before joining San Lucar, Marco led the business development for CIV, the Consorzio Italiano Vivaisti, and led also international forums like Siopora, the International Association of Plant Breeders. Now at San Lucar, Marco oversees a global network of agronomic trials, breeding partnerships, and technology integration. Hello, Marco, and welcome to Berry Talks.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be part of this initiative.
On the screen, you see also George Duarte, who is part of the Berry Talks team. Hello, George.
Hello, I'm Thomas. Hello, Marco. Welcome to our podcast.
Marco, before we dive into your role at San Lucar and the fascinating world of fruit innovation, could you take a moment to introduce yourself to the listeners of Berry Talks and tell us a little bit about your background and how it has evolved the international work you are doing today?
Okay. Well, I am an Italian guy, now emigrated in Spain. So I'm living in Spain since 3 years. And my career started in Italy. Right after the graduation, I received an offer from the University of Bologna, which was the possibility to participate to a public call to take a scholarship and start working for the so-called Technology Transfer Office. And it was that experience that, let's say, enabled me to get into the plant variety development sector. Okay, so initially the scholarship was for a position that was supposed to be half a cherry breeder and half a variety developer, variety manager. But it was clear when I participated and I won that public call for that position, so I took the scholarship. It was clear that the real necessity was the one to develop plant varieties. Okay, so I remained at the university for 4 years and a half, also working with other crops, and it was there that I could start developing my international network. So I want to spend some time in explaining the university experience, because I think it was really the experience that mostly enabled me to get to know this world and also get the first international contact. So at the university, I started to work with other crops like pears, like apples, some stone fruit. And then we had project with some Italian partners, of course, which were those people that then hired me. And I'm referring to CIV and its members. CIV is a consortium of nursery, Italian nurseries dealing with strawberries as well. So with CIV, I started to work in the soft fruit sector. And then after 4 years and a half, so it seems that 4 years and a half is the maximum time I can remain in a company. I'm joking, but it happened the same. So a company I was working with company with which we were having a project offered me a job position, and I'm talking about Lucar. And so I decided to move to Spain, embarking into a much more challenging but also interesting position. So here I am now. I'm working for Lucar. So if at the beginning of my career of 9 years between the university and the CAV, I was working for breeders, now I'm working for fruit production and marketing companies based all over the world. So the focus is a little bit different, and this is also worth mentioning from the very beginning, as we are located in the middle of the supply chain, and so we are not really breeder. That's very important to mention. So that's, I think, is a very short introduction, and that's it for.
Yes, so basically now in this new role at Lucar, what are you? You've been responsible for driving RH&D across global operation. What do you find being your core mission as a R&D director?
So let's say that Lucar is a very complex, let's say, animal, because Lucar started as a pure marketing company, and for those who know Lucar, the main business is the one of selling fruit, of course. But now Lucar is a multinational company with 45 subsidiaries belonging to the group, and everything revolves around the brand Lucar, which is let's say, which is the core value of the company. So the company has the vision to create this brand and to give to the consumer added value with the brand, which incorporates, which embeds several factors. So, for example, the selection of good providers, the selection of the most suitable growing areas, the production of high quality fruit in our farms. And in this context, one factor is for sure the selection of exclusive varieties, which is the main activities of my department. It is true that the R&D department at Lucar is, first of all, we are 15 people, approximately, and we are not 100% only focused in varieties, but I would say varieties accounts for 95% of the activity. So we are not yet involved in real applied technical agronomic R&D. We are doing something like that. Maybe it is interesting to mention that later in the interview, but the main business is to scout for new varieties, test new varieties in our facilities and or with partners and research institutions, depending on the case. And then if we see potential, we will start developing them commercially in our ecosystem. I say ecosystem because depending on the crop, depending on the territories, we have our own farms, our strategic growers, our, let's say, loyal growers that are not yet so important to be classified as strategic or what we call master growers. And then we have also sporadic partnership with some growers. So my department is also managing all the contractual operations, that are related to the licensing world, and also all the nursery operation for certain crops that are related to these exclusive or co-exclusive varieties that we manage. That's more or less what we do in the R&D department.
You are muted, Thomas. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Marco. I think George has now one more question regarding your activity.
Okay. So for Marco, my question is on the direction of your global coordination. So Lucar operates trials across different continents. So how you ensure consistency and also the comparison between varieties testing across such different climates and crops, and what kind of priorities you list to in terms of crops and traits that you want to bring to the San Luca Universe global program?
Okay. This is a very good question and a very relevant one. I think it is also very, how to say, hot question. I would use this term because these are topics, the topic of harmonizing, standardizing, and centralizing the information related to the trials. It is a very, very hot question, especially in a context in which a company like Lucar, in few years, from having only trials mainly in Mediterranean areas and mainly in Spain, Portugal, Morocco, now is having trials in Italy, in Greece, in Peru, in South Africa, and we keep on adding projects and trials. So in an ideal world, we should use the same protocol, and we should centralize the information using software technologies, which is what we will do. I say we will do because we need to use the same software, we need to use the same technologies, and we need to use the same R&D protocol. In practical terms, this is challenging. So we are starting with a different, more flexible approach. We assign responsibilities. So imagine, what I forgot to mention is that I am the director, but there are responsible, R&D responsible for certain species. So if we are talking about a trial of blueberries, we have the blueberry R&D responsible. So she is responsible of creating an R&D protocol. She is responsible of defining the parameters that should be measured. And this also replies to your question, Jorge, which can be productivity, can be the berry size, can be the Brix level, the acidity, and the frequency also of measurements. So it is what to measure, how frequent to measure it, and how to measure it. This is the protocol. And then the protocol should be managed via software, which is something that we can do sometimes. In other cases, we cannot. But we will continue standardizing, and the idea is that all the trials will be managed in the same way. So in this complexity, we are working hard in this context of harmonization. Just to give you an idea that we have also different softwares that we use. So unfortunately, also this is something that is not helping, okay? So we are also trying to develop our standardized software to manage all this project.
And across the whole team and across all the varieties and products, how many trials or varieties do you test a year?
Well, the real statistics is something I have to look at it because I don't have an updated number, but we are literally talking about hundreds of varieties. If we consider that we work with mainly with all the breeders that are the strawberry breeders that are estimated to be more than 30 in Huelva area at least. So we test more or less all the varieties, say the new selections and varieties they have. Also, the stone fruit sector is very famous to have a lot of varieties, and we have trials from Lérida to Murcia, just in Spain. We have different areas. We have also trial sites in Italy. And with strawberries, we have also trial sites in Greece. With raspberries, we have trial sites from Portugal to Morocco, passing via Spain. Now we have trials in Peru as well with blueberries. Blueberries are in South Africa, Spain, Morocco, Tunisia, and Peru. So we are talking about hundreds of varieties and selections as well. So don't forget that we don't just test what is being commercialized. We test codes that in the majority of the cases are discarded by the breeders themselves. So we are talking about hundreds of material every year. And it is a challenging job. And also the lack of harmonization sometimes is due to the fact that we work with third parties, and it is difficult to impose an harmonized way of working, because if we have a strategic partners, the strategic partners sometimes they do have their own R&D department working in a certain way, which is perfectly fine. But the idea is to speak English, correct? To use a metaphor. And then in this context, we also have the breeder now that are imposing a standardized way to develop the varieties. They also have software sometimes. So the situation is that you have different technologies, some of them now based on artificial intelligence, but then the risk is to have a bunch of technologies that are not communicating to each other, and they are helping to a certain extent, at least in retrieving certain informations, but then it is very complex to harmonize all the information that are collected. That's the reality, unfortunately. And we see it also, for example, in the fruit production forecasting technologies that now are booming, and it is difficult to understand which technology to use and why, and everyone wants to use different software, but then it is difficult to select the best one.
In terms of the different fruit categories, where do you see the biggest potential in terms of future improvement of the premium features of fruit like flavor, texture, and so on?
Good question. Well, so Lucar works with a lot of fruit, so we can talk half an hour of my perception. Since this is a berry talks, I would say that I would stick with the berry. I think blackberries are the most, the one that can get a huge announcement in terms of agronomic and also fruit quality improvements. So indeed, if you only think that the production in Europe and in the Mediterranean basin is very, very low. There is one company specialized in Spain, south of Spain, but beyond this company, there are very small and scattered producers. I'm not very I don't know about Portugal if there is a developed blackberry sector, but also in Morocco and North Africa, there are huge opportunities to improve this crop. Raspberries as well. Raspberries, I do believe there is big opportunities in raspberries as well, but between the two, blackberries are by far the most unexploited. With raspberry is more the challenge of finding zero G level bearers, but I think there are various breeding companies that are working in this direction. With blackberries, I see that we are more in high waters, as we say. But yeah, even if there are also some interesting works that are being done on blackberries. Strawberries and blueberries, just to conclude, are mature, in my opinion, crops. And what we saw in with the sequoia, I think all the other the sequoia varieties marked a new benchmark that now all the other breeders will reach. We are already reaching, to be honest. So I don't see which can be the disruptive innovation in these crops, in the blueberries and the strawberry.
That's interesting that you mention blackberries, because many years we between me and Thomas and other colleagues among the industry have been saying that blackberries will be the next one, but we have to reach the taste, right? The taste, the flavor, the subacid on a palate, to make sure that the people repeat the buy and they recognize that that's an improvement and they want to repeat that experience, right? And it's as difficult as you have your job to coordinate all these ideas and transitions of technology from one company to another, and try to blend them to make it work and feasible. How you simplify on the point of view of the grower, and also matching what the company want as a premium fruit for a premium market. So you have to, at some point, to simplify on a production level, narrow the vision for the grower and also for the company, to say we have something that's resilient, we have something that works for the grower and also works for the marketing. How quick you reach the point to identify that's difficult, or yes, we have a wow moment in some of your observations, and we can find something that have these two compromises for the grower and also the the consumer?
Good question. First of all, I want to stress a point which is an important one. I think Lucar, at least to the best of my knowledge, is probably, if not the only company in the world, is one of the few companies in the world that by integrating the entire supply chain can easily test what we call in business terms and marketing terms the product market fit in a very early stage. Okay, I am truly convinced that to be successful, breeders should be maybe less greedy. Not all the breeders are greedy, but more humble to understand that integration with fruit marketing companies is very important. Integration in sale processes. I'm not talking about joint venture. I'm not talking about specific agreements. This is how to make this integration is another discussion for another discussion. So Lucar, to answer your question, has different arrangements, let's call it in this way, and we try to test along with the breeder, of course, because we also fail. I tell you, I can say that is not something we sometimes we have varieties in a testing area in which there is hail, or maybe there was a bad frost, or maybe there was a flood, or maybe that year the conditions were not good, or maybe there was a problem in the farm. So if we rely only on our testing activities, the risk is not to have the full picture. And also we have always to remember that what we find out in one farm cannot be generalized everywhere in the world. So you can get an idea of the variety behavior in that area and maybe under the same condition in that specific geographic area nearby your trial sites. So what we do is to test, and we try to collect as many information from the breeder, from other eventual company involved, and then we try to test, to send samples in strategic Lucar hub, I would say, logistic hubs. We are more and more also improving this process. So also the question that you pose, Jorge, is very relevant because it's something that is being improved. We have a sort of committee, depending on the project, on the variety, in which there is R&D, the product department. The product department shall be responsible of purchasing, of guaranteeing the quantity of the fruit of a given species that we need in the period in which we need it. And so Lucar is a company that wants to have the same product all weeks of the year. So it's basically, we want to have a constant supply. And then we have the commercial departments that they have the contact with our clients, and in the mature markets, they are even allocated. There is one guy allocated per each supermarket chain. So in Germany, we have the Kaufland responsible, the Aldi responsible, and maybe in other countries like Italy, in which we are new, we just have the Italian commercial guy. So when we have all this information together in the committee and we send the fruit of this selection of varieties in this hub and we try to show to the clients, we can receive early feedbacks, which are information that normally breeding companies, except some, cannot have. So if we talk about table grape players, very famous multinational companies like Sunward, now like Grappa, Arra, they do activities of this kind. They do promote sale varieties to the supermarket, which is good because they create a pull effect. But most of the breeders, they don't have enough time, energy, resources to do that. So platforms like Lucar are doors to the market. So once we have all the information collected, and what I just said, Jorge, is part of the R&D protocol. So the fact to also make internal panel tests, ship the fruit to our logistic hubs, making shelf life trials, eating the fruit at the destination arrival, and making a questionnaire with internal respondents, and also collecting feedbacks from external clients is part of our process. And so when we have enough information and we feel comfortable, we continue to do this. We scale up the plantation. We scale up, and then there is a moment in which we have to bet on the varieties, because if we wait too much to have all the information, it's too late. You know that it's like that. If you want to make something good, you need to bet on something. Maybe you don't have the full picture, but it's in that moment in which you also can get the exclusivity. Remember that Lucar wants to have exclusive varieties. So if I wait to have all the information, probably all the other companies, they also have the same information, and they also have already got exclusive rights or something like that. So it is a matter of timing, doing things fast, but at the same time in a good way, because we cannot jump into an agreement without having at least run our protocol.
Yes, I think we understood that this needs to be a multidisciplinary approach to understand what's going on in RD and where you should aim for. So this has been also your role in the industry, and to put together different approaches, different points of view. How do you manage these complex teams and put them all together on one innovation roadmap?
So the only way to put together the team is to start applying project management principles. So we needed when I arrived, and I also needed to apply what I studied about project management, and what I studied, and probably I've never applied in a way that I'm doing right now. We also have experts in the company, so I was helped by the company. The only way to put together all these pieces is to have a clear structure of projects. What is the objective? Look, there was also discussion. This is a funny story, because people that are English mother tongue, they say, look, there's a difference between the goal and the objectives. So the goal should be something long-term, the objective are short-term. So once you agree on your vocabulary, you can define the project. There should be a start point and an ending point. Sometimes people start projects, they don't define even the time frame, the goal, the objectives, how to measure success, which are the KPI of this project. Who is the sponsor of the project, meaning the person or people that wanted the project to be done, who is the project lead, who are the person involved in the team of the project, which are the main actions that should be done in 2025 or in a given time frame, and how frequent do we reunite, do we meet to discuss about the project. This is an example, a very simplified one, which is the only way when you have literally hundreds of projects. And this is the explanation why, Jorge, I didn't download your background, because I was bombarded by many things to do. So the only way to do it correctly, and also to live, I don't want to say more relaxed, but yeah, probably relaxed is the correct term, because if we don't have a methodology, the risk to work under urgency and to have to always resolve the issue when the issue has happened without prevention is real. So the only way is methodology, planning, and also this way applies before the project starts, because a project should be validated and approved only if we replied to all these points. What is the goal, objectives, the people, how, when, where, etc., etc. And then we should follow the actions that we foresee. Okay, so that's the only way, in my opinion.
And we have not mentioned too much the consumer so far, although I know that Lucar has a very strong commitment through its shop operations and leading also fruit departments in store. And you have a lot of information about the consumer preferences and trends. How is that helping your R&D activity?
Look, more important than, of course, we do market research, marketing research, and market research. But at the end, the real information you want to have is the one of your buyer. Example, if someone tells you that they don't want to have elongated BlackBerry, I know, and I'm sure you know, Jorge, BlackBerry like this, of 3-4 centimeters long. This is an example. If your buyers, they say, we don't want that because of any reason, you know that this type of product, even if in your opinion or agronomically is outstanding, you cannot sell it, at least in that supermarket. So you need to collect, it is always connecting dots. And the dots, unfortunately, are a lot. So it is each supermarket chain, each territories has different culture. But again, it's not important to know if the Chinese prefer sweet or acidic. You speak with your buyer, you say, look, I have all these blackberries. Which are the one that in your opinion are the best? If they don't know, they will tell you, send me all. I will reply you because I will sell them, and then I will collect feedbacks for you. So the point is, more important is to speak with the clients, understand who wants what and where, and then you try to design the entire supply chain. So maybe I can produce here because here this variety that is appreciated in Dubai is this is the best area for this variety for Dubai, and you just have done a project. Then you just have to understand how big should be this project according to the sales potential of that product in that territory. So this is, I'm simplifying, but it's very, very complex because potentially speaking, we could have a level of customization that is really high, which is good because having varieties that works in certain territories and are sold in certain countries for certain markets would create value for everyone, for the growers, for the nurseries, for us, and for the consumers. Of course, this is in conflict of another force, which is standardization and the fact that you don't want to have thousands of varieties. You want to have new varieties that are managed worldwide. So it is always a matter of compromising, but you can take decision only when you retrieve this information that normally are done via discussing with our clients.
Can you name some of the varieties which have been successfully selected and launched and now marketed at full speed by Lucar?
Yes, well, the most important is Inspire. Is a strawberry low chill variety that was developed under an exclusive agreement between two Spanish companies, Lucar and Export, that made an agreement years ago with an American breeder. So this is something everybody knows in the sector, and we still benefit from this agreement because we are still enjoying co-exclusive rights with the other Spanish company to manage Inspire in many countries. So Inspire was exactly developed by what I explained. It was trialing early material from the United States. We set up a protocol and we identified the varieties in our farms. And the variety was meeting our parameters and our standards, let's say, in terms of quality and productivity. Other example, before Inspire was Victory. Also Victory strawberry came out from the same project. It was an earlier, of course, generation, so it was not so good in terms of quality like Inspire. So these are the best, let's say, the most famous projects. Consider that in other species we simply test what is available because the breeders themselves are not so keen on working in this way, which is a pity. But also it is also true, and we have to admit that we don't have the capability for all the species to step into the early stages of R&D because it is a lot of job to do.
Thank you for the answer. I think we are heading to the end of the interview, but we have a final question, which I'm going to challenge Marco to see or to foresee what can happen in the next 5 to 10 years out of your R&D and all these commitments that you have, your company has of not only identifying what the breeder has, but also the commitment to deliver the premium fruits to the market. What you see in a short-term answer, what you see coming out, what the biggest challenge coming in the next 5-10 years of developing this role in San Lucar, and also to bring something extra and bring a wow moment to the market.
We're talking about challenges or opportunities, because
Well, you can enlight a few highlights of the challenges and the opportunities in the next 5-10 years, according what you already know from today's R&D.
For me, challenges and opportunities at the end are the same, are similar. I mean, it's just two faces of the same coin, because when you have a challenge, you have an opportunity. So I would speak in general terms. I think what it is really important in this sector to implement are predictive technologies, predictive ways, and they already exist. There are already various companies providing services in this way to foresee whether a given genotype works in a certain area, because the main issue in our sector is to deliver the genetic material of asexually propagated plants in other countries. If I want to test something, a new nectarine in South Africa, I have to make 2 years of quarantine. So the idea is to have technologies, and we have it, to understand whether it may work. So if the technology with artificial intelligence says, look, there is a very low probability that in the places in which you want to plant, it will not work, that will be great. That's a very important point I would like to see implemented. And also, I would like to have more synergies with between actors in the supply chain based on artificial intelligence, and also on, I am a strongly supporter of this integrated R&D project, because when you have partners that are placed in different points of the supply chain and you all collaborate, all the stakeholders are working in the same direction. Unfortunately, this is something that sometimes does not happen, and for me, the most important opportunity is to work in this direction, making projects that are designed to solve certain issues and they incorporate all the stakeholders. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Marco. Just one last question. Where can we follow you and San Lucar to learn more about the innovations happening in your company?
For San Lucar website, and especially LinkedIn, also Instagram, but I would recommend more LinkedIn. We are quite active there. Myself, I'm not so social. I use social media, so I would say LinkedIn for myself. Sometimes I post something that will summarize my recent activities. So definitely LinkedIn for both.
Okay, excellent. No, I think you should post more, because if one of the key elements you were talking about is integrate the different people and the different stakeholders and work all together in the same direction, I think that social media is definitely helping that. I mean, we all have nothing to hide. There is most of the things we should really share, and because it's more an advantage than actually giving something away for free. I think this is very important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I will try to be more social.
Yes, because I think that we have learned a lot from this conversation today, in particular from your integrated approach, which is part of the DNA of your company, because as you were saying, there are not many companies around the world which have such a integrated supply chain and operation, which includes the contacts to the buyer in the supermarkets up to R&D and going operations. And this sure gives you a very big market advantage. And from this conversation, I think that this DNA includes also a major focus on driving the company to the future, and this is all done by a strong commitment to R&D. So I think that your role within the company is a very crucial role, because Lucar has always shown to the market that there is a strong commitment towards innovation, towards bringing new and good things to the market, which is very easy to say. We offer the best quality, but if you start digging into what that means, it's a lot of work. I mean, I think that your team of 15 people can be proud of what you're doing, and I think that with all the challenges we are facing in vital innovation and all the things which will happen with the new genetic tools, we will see a lot of interesting new fruits, new varieties coming. So, Marco, thank you very much for joining us, and good work, good innovation, and let's drive this business forward all together. Thank you, George.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you, Marco, for everything. It was great to see you back again on the media, because you just mentioned you are not the media guy. Now you will become more, for sure. Hope you also follow us, Berry Talks. We have a lot of episodes in the last 3 years where you can learn a lot about other players and role models from the industry. Don't forget to subscribe for our audience, rate and share this episode with other passionate colleagues about the industry of berries. So I want to thank you to all of you, Thomas, Marco, and also our colleague that's not here, Siham Sahidi. He couldn't be here with us. And also I want to see more people involved in the industry throughout our with our podcast being the platform of communication. Until next time, and this has been the Berry Talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.